Whoa. Welcome to the TreasureTreeTherapy Planters Podcast. I'm your host, Master Cheeze. As always, you in for a really good one. We're going to start off talking about Taylor University football. Then we're going to progress talking about the Colorado Buffaloes. Prime. Wait for it. Then we're going to speak about the Chicago. Calm down. They had a bye week. Yeah, you're right. Then from there, we're going to see if we can try to make you some money as we speak about some fantasy football injuries and some options coming up. We're going to look at Nick Chubb coming back, DeShaun Watson, unfortunately. And then...
Hello?
Send this.
Bruh. You must not recycle because your team is trash.
We're going to look at Nick Chubb, who just came back, DeShaun Watson, and look at Tua. Try to update some information about that. And see if we can speak a little bit about Salt Bay NBA, if Master Cheeze can show up. You think he'll show up? I don't think so. But until then, stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back to the TreasureTreeTherapy Planners Podcast. We're going to bring a special guest in, Master Cheeze, coming in from Upland, Indiana. Are you there, sir?
Si, senora.
All right, cool. Update us on what happened this weekend with the Taylor University Trojans. All right, Taylor University Trojans had a rough weekend as they battled up number 3 in the nation, Indiana Wesleyan University. Not a very close game. The score of the game was 56-7. Unfortunately, Taylor didn't have enough this week to really compete against number 3 in the nation, Indiana Wesleyan. Seems they had some injuries that kind of hurt their offense. Looking at some of the stats, Indiana Wesleyan was able to put up 500-plus yards of total offense. Taylor had a rough day as they were able to put up a total of 147 yards. This stat alone tells you what kind of offense they had, what kind of game was going. Defense had a hard time as well. Just a rough game this past week for Taylor, but they'll look to bounce back as they have a favorable matchup this week against Lawrence Tech. Lawrence Tech right now is not a very good football team. As you can see their record, they have 1 win on the season. Taylor looks to bounce back and keep their season going in a positive direction. So far, it's still a good season for the Trojans. They've been able to win more games than they have in the previous years, and they've been able to knock off St. Francis. So positive outlook going for that program right now. So we'll see how they end the season. And from there, we're going to progress to, you know what time it is. Colorado Buffaloes come out this weekend with a victory over Arizona. Arizona only 3 wins on the season going into this game, and not a very good matchup for them playing the Buffaloes. Buffaloes blew them out 34-7. It was a dominant performance all the way around. The defense holding their opponent to 1 score. We're going to take a focus and look at Shedeur Sanders' stats. Shedeur was balling-ish. Shedeur was able to go 23 for 33, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, and oddly enough, he had 2 interceptions. It appears to be his 3rd game in a row with an interception. He has to clean that up, but again, he's still an NFL quality quarterback. Looking at Travis Hunter, he ended up going out in the second half with an injury. I believe they said it's a shoulder injury, and they shot him out the second half. So he didn't really do much in this game offensively, as he typically does. But they'll really need him this upcoming weekend as they look to battle Cincinnati. Both teams currently have similar records with 5 wins on the season, with the victory puts either team bowl eligible. Cincinnati's going to definitely need Travis Hunter and Shedeur to come out balling, and we'll see if they can come up with a victory out next week. All right, progressing from there, we're going to speak about the Chicago. Calm down. They had a bye week. Okay, man, I got it, man. I understand. I'm going to keep the glasses on because it's sunny outside. But looking at the Chicago Bears, they're coming off a bye week this weekend with a great victory over the Jaguars in London. It's a great opportunity for them coming to this game very healthy, get a couple more reps in and practice with another week of preparation as they look to battle the Washington Commanders. Now, the thing about the Washington Commanders is that they have a bad man by the name of Jayden Daniels. Now, looking at Jayden Daniels, he is suffering from a rib injury. It took him out of his last game, and he's looking to try to compete and come up this week against the Chicago Bears. Now, I don't know if any of you all played football before, but rib injuries suck. And they suck because when you get hit, they suck again. Pause. The rib injury is going to take some time for that to heal up. Really needs a decent, at least about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks window, just so he can take a little bit more of that damage. Now, looking at Jayden Daniels, he's about 6'4", 210 pounds, and that's not a lot of extra weight to handle some extra blows. Seeing that he'll be going up against the Chicago Bears defense, that's not a good defense to be going up against with hurt ribs. But it's an opportunity to have like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning type storyline going on here. I know they're looking to get him there, or maybe like RG3 Andrew Luck beginnings, but we'll see if he can come out prepared. But besides focusing on Jayden Daniels, we're going to look at Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is still showing that he is an NFL quarterback and he is the future for the Chicago Bears. But one thing that has to be noted is that in Chicago, the weather's going to change pretty soon. And he has to be prepared and he has to get ready for that. He's had some good victories. He's put up a lot of yards, but the rest of the season gets pretty tough. We have divisional games going up against the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions. These are all playoff quality teams, and the Bears have to bring their A game. In addition, Caleb Williams has to also bring his A game. The teams that he's been battling up against haven't really sent him many pressures that have been confusing him like he has been getting against the Houston Texans. So he has to be prepared when he goes up in those divisional games to get to another level. Now, I believe Caleb Williams will have some success, but the Bears' successful season is to go 500 against divisional opponents, what looks to become a Super Bowl quality team next year. These are my thoughts. You might have other opinions, but if you do, put them in the comment section. Let me know. Do you think the Bears are a Super Bowl caliber team this year, or do you think that they're just pretenders? All right, from there, we're going to progress into fantasy football. All right, looking at a couple injuries. One of the injuries that we looked at a lot last year was DeShaun Watson. Unfortunately, his season is over with. DeShaun Watson, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, had torn his Achilles. He received the snap. It looks like it might have been a QB draw. Foot hit the dirt, and the Achilles popped. He had been struggling throughout the season, throughout the year. He also had some surgery previously on his shoulder. I believe looking at those injuries, that can build up these different compensations, and the body is one unit. When you don't feel comfortable in one area, the body's going to compensate to make up for that. DeShaun Watson not being able to throw with that same velocity and that same accuracy as he had in years prior to him having a surgery, I think was an indication that something needed to be done more for that. In addition to that, DeShaun Watson had been sacked over 30 times. Like, he's getting beat up. He was getting beat up pretty bad, and it makes sense why that resulted in him having an injury. If you got your quarterback being sacked 30 plus times, it's not a good look. In addition to that, the Cleveland Browns fans, very, 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 very bad, very classless act of you cheering on that guy who got injured. Although he may have his issues, it's just as a person, you really shouldn't root for someone who's injured. You know, people go through day-to-day life, and football is a very small part of that. So moving forward, good luck to DeShaun Watson. Hopefully he can get some recovery. DeShaun, if you would like some more information about these compensations you may have, and you can always reach out to TreasureTreeTherapy. You can look at the website. But progressing from the promo, we're going to look at Nick Chubb, who's also the bright spot for the Cleveland Browns. He came back this week. He had tore his ACL and a lot of different ligaments in his knees. But it was encouraging to see him get on the board. He had a touchdown this game, and they're looking to ramp him up. It appears that he had no issues after the game. They did a really good job with the swelling. So see how he does against the Baltimore Ravens defense. Now, the Ravens have a really good defense. They're going to definitely send a lot of blitzes and pressures to make sure that Nick Chubb is not going to do well. That's a game you definitely, if you're going to bet, I think that would probably be a blowout. Now, they do have Jameis Winston at the quarterback position, but I don't think that Jameis is ready in week 2, 1-ish to prepare for a defense that's playing really good football. So good luck to him, and welcome back, Nick Chubb. And the last piece we're going to look at Tua. You know the rest of his name, but he is the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. He's been dealing with concussions for the last couple years. He's been out for the last couple games with a concussion. He's looking to suit back up and get back in the game. Now, looking at concussions, if you understand, concussion is when the brain shakes in the skull, from a very bad hit, trauma hitting the ground, the brain's jarring in there, and that can produce injury to the brain. The brain is not something that you really want to have injured because it's the motherboard. It controls the limbs. Once the brain goes, everything really can go. So it makes sense why the NFL is being very, very cautious when you have these concussion injuries. People can end up becoming brain dead. It's a very serious issue. When you're young, you can kind of handle it a little bit, but looking at the foresight, looking into the future, it can really damage your health going forward. So when I say that, it's something that needs to be taken very seriously. Now, it looks like Tua is ready to ramp up and play football, but it's concerning that someone of his nature who's dealing with a lot of concussions, one thing that you can do for concussions is you can strengthen the neck. The neck can kind of help absorb these forces. Another piece, a mouthpiece. Now, these are professional athletes, and they do like the way they look, and they like a certain feel of the game. But someone dealing with concussions, I think a mouthpiece should be necessary after a couple concussions. Really having something to bite down on to make sure that you that you can reduce the amount of injury happening to the brain that's already still injured. I think that's something that needs to be implemented. I know that these guys don't want to, wear certain things because it gives them a little bit more comfortable feel. But to have a quarterback out there who's been suffering a lot of concussion injuries, not having a mouthpiece, it's kind of crazy. I know there's some other talk that have been said about him not wanting to wear one of the specialized helmets for it. That's up to his opinion. He has a helmet. I get that, but to not have the mouthpiece is still kind of confusing to me. Wishing the best of luck to Tua. Looking at these injuries can lead to early dementia and Alzheimer's. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Muhammad Ali. Looking at him, he had a hard time in the later stages of his life because the amount of injury that it was said the amount of injuries that he took when he was boxing. Just Tua, just got to be a safe man. I know you're young, but 30 years from now, you don't really want to live to regret your decisions right now. So best of luck to Tua and the rest of the Miami Dolphins and your fantasy team with Tyreek Hill. Now, when I say I'm here to make you some money, I'm trying to get more into the betting spot. So if you guys got any questions about certain picks that you would like or any receiver yards and stats, I would try my best to help you with that. Again, this is not financial advice, and this is at your own risk, but I would just kind of try to impart my own wisdom to you guys. For example, Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, dealing with a hamstring injury, something that's going to be keeping him down for a couple weeks. If you have him on your roster, you might have to stash him and move on forward. Nico Collins is looking to come back soon with a hamstring injury, but most importantly, looking at Travis Etienne, he has a hamstring injury too, and that's something that needs to be monitored. The hamstring injuries are very, very, very delicate situations because they can feel good, but one quick turn, as you can see, Mike Evans is also getting hurt off a hamstring injury. So be very mindful when you're looking at these players with these hamstring injuries. But that's the last piece of the day. That's all I got for you all. If you got any questions, you can always like, share, and subscribe. I really don't know. I really don't care. But do it for the channel. It helps the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. But all this information is to help you become the best you. Treasure Tree Therapy, planting seeds today for future generation success.